Breaking news early on this Monday morning, as on the eve of the 2025 NFL trade deadline, Howie Roseman and the Philadelphia Eagles have made another trade. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles Now. My name is Chase Sr. Thanks for waking up with me here on the show. And on this beautiful Monday, November 3rd, we'll talk about this move for the Eagles. But first, this is why you subscribe to the channel. I was in a dead sleep, and my Garmin watch started buzzing as one of my coworkers was giving me a call. I answer, and he says, "Did you see the trade?" And I'm like, "What's the trade?" And he said, "The Eagles are acquiring Jaelan Phillips of the Miami Dolphins. No matter where I am, what I'm doing, if I'm asleep, I'm going to get up in front of a camera on a microphone. And when there's Eagles breaking news, I always have you covered. So lock us in and hit that subscribe button right now." So, the Philadelphia Eagles trading for Dolphins pass rusher Jaelan Phillips. The Eagles are sending a third-round pick to Miami. Vic Fangio, Eagles defensive coordinator, coached Phillips back in 2023. He's a big fan of Jaelan Phillips. And this is the third trade of the last week for Howie Roseman. He traded for Jet slot cornerback Michael Carter. He traded on Saturday for two-time second-team All-Pro Ravens cornerback Jaire Alexander, who obviously made his money and made a name for himself with the Green Bay Packers. And to kick off November, day before the NFL trade deadline, Howie Roseman makes this trade for Jaelan Phillips. This is a player who we have talked about a lot. And over the weekend, I had discussed the report from Cameron Wolfe of the NFL Network, who covers the Miami Dolphins, and he had passed along some intel and some reporting information that the Eagles were in pursuit of Phillips, that they were very interested in him, and this was a player that Vic Fangio identified as a really good fit for his scheme this year, because obviously he coached him back in 2023 with Miami. And I know that Vic's tenure with the Dolphins didn't work out, but people have to remember how injured the Dolphins were that year. They were still competitive despite all of those injuries, still made it to the playoffs with all of those injuries. And there was a lot of chatter about how Vic wasn't for the Dolphins and how it wasn't a good fit, and players hated his old school mentality. That works and aligns perfectly with the city of Philadelphia and with this Eagles team. Vic Fangio has come in. He has made such an impact with this team. He turned this defense around seemingly overnight. They are awful in 2023. They became the number one defense in 2024. The guy is from Dunmore, the neighboring town of Scranton, Pennsylvania, Irontown, Coal Town, has football roots. He might be old school. He might be tough. He might not take any BS, but he is a lunch pail to work type of cat. And that's what we love in the city of Philadelphia. And shout out to the Eagles players who have really adapted to how Fangio teaches, how he coaches, and they've been fine with how he coaches. Jaelan Phillips was as well, and he played some really good ball under Fangio not long ago. When healthy, we're talking about a highly disruptive pass rusher. He had 6.5 sacks under Fangio back in 2023 when he only played 8 games. The concern here with Phillips is not the ability, it's not the talent, it's not the size. He's 6'5", 263 pounds, 18th overall pick in the 2021 NFL Draft. It's the injuries. He went to UCLA and Miami, medically retired in college, tore his Achilles tendon in 2023, came back, tore his ACL last year. Now, he does have 3 sacks in 9 games. In October, I believe he was like top 5, top 10 among all pass rushers in pressure rate. And so he is really starting to come on here, coming off the heels of that injury, and he's starting to round into form. But if there's a concern that I have about this move, it's that a third-round pick is somewhat of a steep price, right? More on that in a moment. But it's also the injury problems. I mean, if you bring in Jaelan Phillips and you give up and surrender a third-round pick, then he gets hurt again. You know, obviously, that would suck. Yes, you get Nolan Smith and Brandon Graham back coming out of the bye week, and that'll give you a lot more depth at the pass rusher spot, and this adds to that. But the injury concerns him medically retiring in college. I believe it was because of a neck problem. Those are definitely some red flags for Jaelan Phillips. Now, getting back to the compensation, important to note here, this counts toward the compensatory pick formula. So the Eagles give up their own third-round pick in this trade. But if Jaelan Phillips leaves after the year in free agency, the Eagles get a third-round pick back, and they already have 2 remaining. And I've been saying over the last couple of weeks, last few months at this point, when we talk about Eagles trade possibilities, that they have 3 third-round picks to use at their disposal. Their own, a pick from the Jets. That pick is going to be highly valuable because the Jets stink. It could be the first pick in the 3rd round. Remember that. Then they have a compensatory pick from Milton Williams signing with the New England Patriots because they had drafted him out of Louisiana Tech in the 3rd round. He got that bag, and because of the compensatory pick formula, Eagles get that comp pick back. So in trading for Jaelan Phillips, if he leaves, you give up your own 3rd, which is going to be at the end of the 3rd, hopefully. You have a 3rd that could be the first pick in the 3rd with the Jets, and if he leaves, you get that comp pick back. Plus, you get that Milton Williams comp pick back. Now, you can't trade comp picks like the Milton Williams one. It has to be awarded to the Philadelphia Eagles, but this is Howie Roseman taking the long view here. This is Howie Roseman thinking about this trade in a macro view. And that's why he's such a brilliant general manager. The Dolphins also are picking up a portion of Jaelan Phillips' salary. And after acquiring Phillips, the Eagles are still projected to have 8 draft picks in the 2026 NFL draft. First, second, 2 thirds right now. If he leaves, that's a third. They have 2 fourths and 2 fifths. And that includes the Eagles potentially getting those 3 compensatory picks. Milton Williams, 3rd. Josh Sweat, 4th. Mekhi Becton, 5th. So this is a no-brainer for the Eagles to make a move for a pass rusher. I ideally would like for it to be a move for a player who is less injured, but he's only 26 years old. He's young, and he's a really good player. We'll see if the Eagles try to work out a new deal for him. He's a free agent, obviously, at the end of the year. The Eagles have been aggressive in acquiring rental players at the deadline, like Golden Tate, Robert Quinn. Kevin Byard was a player in 2023 who they acquired. Those are examples of that. But Phillips does fit the Howie Roseman athletic profile and the age profile. Now, we'll go through his numbers, his strengths and weaknesses from a scouting standpoint here just around the corner. But let me just quick get to my sponsor. This will take 60 seconds, so continue to hang out here with me. Prize Picks, making this episode of Philadelphia Eagles now happen. The hard-hitting football action even better with Prize Picks. The weather might be changing, but the feeling of being right never gets old. So keep the season rolling on Prize Picks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. You get your picks into less than 60 seconds. You choose more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you can win some big-time money. Prize Picks is the only app that offers stacks. You can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. You want to pick more on Jalen Hurts' pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns. Now you can pick all of them in the same lineup only on Prize Picks. Follow other Prize Picks players directly on the app. Copy their lineups in one click. Whether it's a friend, a celebrity partner, or just somebody whose picks you like, hit the follow button and check out every lineup they create in the new feed tab on Prize Picks. I know you all know ball, so turn your takes into cash with Prize Picks. This is America's #1 fantasy sports app. Join the millions of users. Sign up today. Download the Prize Picks app. Use the code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. So Jaelan Phillips really got it going after he was selected in the first round out of Miami by the Miami Dolphins. 2021, 17 games, 5 starts. He had 8.5 sacks, 9 TFLs, and 16 quarterback hits. In year 2, he had 7 sacks with 8 TFLs and 25 quarterback hits. Year 3 under Vic Fangio, 6.5 sacks in only 8 games and 6 starts. So the first 2 years, the momentum was building for him. Then he was on pace to have a double-digit season and probably get a contract extension because he would have been contract extension eligible after that 3rd year, and he tears his Achilles. 6.5 sacks, 11 quarterback hits, 7 TFLs, again, in those 8 games of 6 starts. And then in 2024, only played 4 games, 3 starts, had 1 sack, 1 TFL, 2 quarterback hits. He tears his ACL. And then so far this year, in those 9 games, 3 sacks with 3 TFLs and 7 quarterback hits. His game log of late, all of those 3 sacks have come in the last 5 games. So 3 sacks in the last 5 games. He had one against Baltimore 2 weeks prior to that, had one against Cleveland. He was really good in that game. And then he had one against Carolina on October 5th. And the PFF numbers, overall grade this year, 66.5, 55th among 120 edge rushers, a pass rushing grade of 77.8. That ranks 16th. He has 32 pressures. 32 pressures already. That's 11th. He has 25 hurries. That's 6th. So some of these numbers are really good. 16 stops. That's 8th. So in some of these numbers here, he's top 10, top 15 among all pass rushers. Last year, his run defense grade 67.5, pass rush grade 65.2, overall grade of 66.1. In 2023, overall grade of 79.8, pass rush grade of 71.2, and a run defense grade of 77.7. So all of those are very impressive numbers. So anytime you make a trade at this point of the year, it's going to be a little bit of a risk. Howie Roseman likes to take risks. He's aggressive. In big business, in professional sports, aggressive wins. Being bold wins. And so I like the move from that standpoint. The only downside here is that he's injured a lot. He has an explosive get-off, really good pursuit speed. He's very long. You can utilize him on stunts. You can utilize him, and he has strengths on inside counters. He can rush from the inside at times on some NASCAR hybrid packages. Hand usage isn't always fantastic. Sometimes he can get over aggressive and he can get too far upfield in his pursuit because he's 6'5". He doesn't have like insane bend like Nolan Smith. Sometimes he can be a little bit upright. I would say he's not a power rusher. He's more of an athletic freak who can win in that regard. So can't wait to see what he can do in a Philadelphia Eagles uniform, and let's hope that he can stay healthy. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I'll be back a little bit later with another edition here of Philadelphia Eagles Now. Obviously, the deadline coming up tomorrow, and who knows, Howie Roseman might make another move, but he beat a lot of teams to the punch on this Monday morning.